Good evening, everyone. I'm Tivon Browne, Dr. Tivon Browne, and this is another episode of Health Talk. Welcome. Good evening to our listeners out there, near and abroad. Tonight I am joined by Nevis' own and the Renal Society's own Dr. Glenville Liebert.
Yes, good evening, Tivon, and it's good to be here again to work with you, to join you in this great work you're doing, and good evening to all our listening audience out there on Von Radio 860 and the AM band, and I think they also have a FM and the streaming live on Facebook and YouTube. And so, good to be here again.
All right.
In addition of Health Talk.
So this evening we're going to be speaking about diabetes and the kidneys. But before we get into that, I'd like to give a special shout out to the nurses. Nurses Day was May 12th. Leading up to that, there was a lot of celebrations throughout the week to celebrate our nurses, the unsung heroes of the healthcare system.
Yes, and we can't leave them out. They are the linchpin, they keep the system going. They're on the job 24/7 shift work, So someone is always available in the nursing department to provide that extra care we need to see us through our health challenges. So thank you, nurses, for being there for all of us.
Mm-hmm. Retired or active, we just want to say a special thanks to all the nurses.
Yeah.
A nurse is always a nurse, they say.
That's true.
Yes. So in other news, we have some Renal Society news that Dr. Liebert would like to share.
Yes, and we want to congratulate our society members for the sterling work we've been doing over the years, and there has been a recent change of executive. So we say congratulations and encouragement to the outgoing president, Nurse Sherilyn Pemberton. She submitted her resignation, family reasons. She has to be away, and she's been in the post for over almost 10 years. So it was time for changing of the guard, And she did an excellent job to keep the society together. And I want to welcome the new president, Michelle Liebert Rollins. And she did an excellent job in the last year and a half while Sherilyn was away on health and family duties most of the time. So Michelle did a wonderful job to keep the society going, and I want to thank her for her role in that transition and for stepping up to the presidency. She was unanimously elected by the membership at the general meeting on the 17th of April. And so, congratulations, Michelle, for being our new president of the Renal Society, following in the good steps of Sherilyn and before Alexa Pemberton. And others, I think, before Alexa was Hensley and James. James Herbert was the first president, remember?
Yeah. Oh, James?
Yeah.
Really?
When the group first started, way back, I think in late 98 or 99, I can't remember the exact year, but, James Herbert was the first president.
I did not know that. He never told me that.
Yeah. And then Hensley came on board, and he was president until he went into politics. And then Alexa took over, and she did a wonderful job for many years. And then Sherilyn, Alexa had to be off island for some time as well. She had an assignment with the UN, I think, or some agency in the USA, so she had to be off island. So Sherilyn stepped up to the plate and did an excellent job. So the society has been going now for over 25 years. So
grand.
And in terms of community groups, NGOs in Nevis, that's a record. It's a legacy.
Yeah, it is, right?
And we have done lots of community advocacy and public awareness, and bring the issue, keep the issues alive, because this matter of renal disease is not going away.
Mm-hmm.
And well, should I go into a little bit of history? I'm going off on a tangent.
Yeah, I don't know if we got time for that, but
anyway. So the other members of the executive, we have Dr. Michelle Lawrence, who is the vice president. Yeah. So 2 Michelles leading the group.
Wow, Eminem.
Eminem, yeah. And let me get the full notice there of all the executive members. And the new secretary is Lawina Liebert. Okay, and she young energies,
Yes.
vision and spirit, and we thank them for being there. Kim Singh, she's still on the executive. I think she's assistant secretary, but she was the last secretary. She's assistant secretary treasurer. And then you have Alexa Pemberton continues as the substantive treasurer of the group. And the new PRO, let me see, go to the notice there, scrolling to my alright, come on. So we had some new members in the last 3 to 6 months, so the group is regenerating itself, and we're thankful for those new members who have come on board, and the appeal goes out that there's still a need for more members.
Of course, always.
Yeah.
But you were mentioning the PRO. Before you mention the new PRO, you want to give a shout out to the old PRO, the outgoing PRO?
Oh, definitely. And the outgoing PRO is Florine Williams. She has done a wonderful job in her own unique way of soliciting support for the group in terms of sponsorship for events and things like that. And but we welcome the new PRO, Remy Layden. Yeah, young lady. She came out of a passion, interest, and the meeting before that in March was just after our renal week.
Yes, the
promotion,
week of events.
and
Yes.
someone bought a flyer from the event in the square. She wasn't there herself, but someone from her work bought a flyer, and she said, "I want to be aligned with this group," And she came at the meeting, which was the day after, the week after that thing. But inevitably, that meeting was cancelled, but she and I had a very engaging conversation. Because like she couldn't go away, having made that effort to come, with such interest, so she couldn't go away. And so she came back for the general meeting last month in April, and yes, she accepted the challenge to become the new PRO. So we welcome you, Remy.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, congratulations to everybody who's now elected to the board, and, we give our best wishes for the upcoming year.
Yes, and we expect great things. Lots of new energy, new ideas, and the society is going from strength to strength, and the vision of providing renal care for patients and needs. Our objective is to see a dialysis center of full-fledged renal care provided on the island, because the group was born out of that experience when one person privately had a machine in the home for 7 years. And we realized it is doable. It can be done in Levis. The technology is not rocket science, and if a lay person and the wife and family circle could manage a dialysis machine in a private home for 7 years, then the public system can do it even better.
All right. Well,
so that's the passion, the drive that keeps us going, that we know it can be done. And so all the naysayers, time to change your mindset. This thing is not going away. And after 26 years, the society is still standing strong. So kudos to all those who have held the vision over the years, and those new members who have come on board, that the society is here for the long haul.
all right.
And Tivon, you are one of the new recruits, right?
Of course.
As a young doctor.
I've been here for a year now.
Yeah, so
in
good
the
to have
society.
you on board, and I'm here to hold up your hand, as you hold up mine too.
Yeah, I love this society because
Yeah.
of its longevity and how active it is in the community. Because I'm all about community activism, so I love to see that. I love to see us going forward and making progress in the things that we achieve and aspire to.
So, and we have another young doctor who is the vice president, Dr. Michelle.
Look at that.
Lawrence, so this thing is real, and we aim for prevention, but we got to have a strategy in place for cure well, for treatment,
Yes.
when prevention fails, because human being humans, people will take chances and ignore the rules, and things will happen. So we have to not be judgmental and condemnatory, but be there to support our fellow men when they fall to the cracks.
Of course.
You know, whether they're deliberate or not, we just have to redirect them and support them as best we can. And in my medical practice, I found that in times of crisis, that's when people are wanting to learn how to look after themselves. And we must not miss that opportunity to impart knowledge.
No.
Right? Because when a person is hungry for knowledge, you should give them, right? And when they have a health challenge or crisis, then they want to know what went wrong, how to correct this thing, what I must do, right? And yes, it could be overwhelmed, but as health professionals, we have to seize that opportunity and say, okay, here's somebody who wants to learn. Let us answer their question as best we can and guide them and hold their hand and show them, well, you can manage your health care, you know. And so that will take us into the topic for tonight, right?
Diabetes.
Exactly.
One of the most challenging
Yeah.
conditions I ever come across in medical practice from I was a med student right up until today.
Yeah.
So, diabetes. What is diabetes? You know, every time people talk about diabetes, they think about sugar. I remember as a young boy growing up, when I heard about diabetes in the community, when my grandmother would take me to the health center, you know, they talk about your sugar, you got your sugar, you need to check your sugar. And I always think about that brown bottle on the counter, you know, like what we need to check that for? We put that in the drink. So, well, we need to check about this sugar. But, you know, as I grew, I learned to understand that the sugar they were talking about was blood sugar.
Yeah, you know, and to give a little bit of history of the condition, diabetes. There's two kinds of diabetes, right? They have mellitus and insipidus, right? And diabetes is defined by producing large volumes of urine, right? And in the old time days, the urine was sweet. Mellitus means sweet, right? I think it's a Greek, you know, based on honey is sweet and some mellitus.
Back when us physicians used to had to drink the urine to test it.
Yeah, test it, yeah. And then ants used to follow the urine, so that's how the old physicians realized that the urine was loaded with sugar in those days. And over the years, science have grown, technology has improved, and we could now test the sugar more accurately in the urine and in the blood. You know, and we know that there's a threshold for the kidney to spill sugar into the urine.
Yes.
And so we have gone away from testing the urine primarily, but it's still used for screening because it will raise a flag. But people could have sugar in the blood for 100,000 milligrams, right? And nothing in the urine.
Exactly.
And you could have normal blood sugar and still spill sugar in the urine. So the renal threshold is a factor which we have to understand. So blood testing technology is now everywhere. What do you call those machines again?
The glucometers.
Glucometers, yeah.
Even in the homes.
Yes.
Simple as that.
And so you have a tool in your hand now that you could know what your blood sugar is doing, because what is the reason for sugar in the body?
Well, we need sugar to strive, to grow, to keep active.
Yeah,
it's
we need
the energy molecules.
Yeah. We're energy beings, right? And that's where the energy comes from, the sugar in the blood. And where the sugar come from in the blood?
It comes from the food we eat.
Yeah. So I tell my patients, starches are what?
They're just complex sugars.
Carbohydrates, right? So you have, I use the analogy, a necklace or a chain. You could have a necklace with different color beads, right? But each bead in a necklace are joined together. And that's what a starch is. Is a string of sugar molecules linked together. Is a carbohydrate. And when we eat the carbohydrate, the starches, the body breaks down the linkage between each sugar molecule and release them, and they absorb into the bloodstream. So that's where the sugar comes from, those starchy foods.
Yes, like rice, ground provisions, you know, bread. Some of the main ones right there.
Yeah, flour stuff, right? And the more we refine the starches, the quicker it dumps sugar into the bloodstream. And what does the refining do?
The refining basically takes away you know, things like the color, of course. They take away the more complex things like cellulose and
fiber,
these kind of things. Yes.
You know, and food in the natural state, the fiber delay the release into the bloodstream, right? So it's good to eat natural.
Natural, of course.
You know.
Always go for the brown over the
Yeah.
white and
Exactly.
all of that. In the sugar, in the flour, in the everything.
Yeah. So I mean, the more the food is to nature and you eat it in the natural state, then the better it is in terms of the dumping of sugar into your bloodstream. You have refined sugar itself. White sugar is worse than brown sugar. You know, but if you eat the raw sugar cane, it's better because it's mixed with the fiber.
Right? Yes.
Absorb, you
Good
know.
for the system.
And plus, you have to walk your jaws to chew the sugar cane, right? So that's burning up the energy while you're taking it in.
To and fro. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. So, in terms of the sugar in the blood now, as soon as it gets from the food to the blood, the body has systems devised to, you know, harvest this sugar into the uses that we need it for. You know, mainly from the pancreas, we get the release of insulin that sequesters or, you know, traps the sugar in your blood, in your cells, and from there the cells use it for energy or they use it and store it for future use.
Yeah, I mean, insulin is like the gatekeeper that opens the door to the cells, you know, so the sugar can get seen and be used by the cells. And if there's excess sugar in the bloodstream, the body have a way of repackaging it into different forms for future use. What you do when you have excess cash in your pocket?
You put it away in the bank.
Yeah, you invest it in real estate, right? And the body have that system of storage of energy. Glycogen in muscle
Yes.
and in liver. That's for a quick draw from the account, right?
Yeah.
And then when the glycogen stores are full, what it turns it into?
Right.
Fat. And it could also be linked with nitrogen and make into protein, right? So the body can convert glucose into storage medium, glycogen in muscle and liver and fats.
God's creation is very, very amazing, eh?
Exactly.
So now, therein lies the problem. The conversion, the transfer of that sugar from the blood into the body for use.
Yeah.
That's why we have what we call the diabetes mellitus. For some reason, either a defect in sensitivity towards insulin, or a defect in producing the insulin itself, the body for some reason cannot make good use of that sugar.
But Tivon, the body regulates the blood sugar in a very narrow range between how much?
Well, in terms of fasting?
No, in terms of the blood sugar range. When you have excess sugar, the body brings it down quickly back into a normal range, right? When it goes too low, the body mobilizes the stores and bring it back up, right?
Yes.
And so the body have that compensatory mechanism. But with diabetes, lack of insulin, that half of that mechanism is impaired.
Yes.
So the sugar gets into the blood, but it can't go into the storage sites. So it builds up in the bloodstream. And that's where the problems occur.
Exactly. That's why diabetes is so complicated, because if the sugar stays in the bloodstream, and we know the blood goes everywhere, then we could particularly say every organ or every organ system is affected by this excess sugar.
Exactly. But what's the range of sugar in the bloodstream? I mean, the body keeps it in a narrow range, right?
Yeah, very narrow range.
82
between 80 to like 1
to 110.
110.
60 to 110, right? And so once the sugar goes below 60, a mechanism kicks in to bring it up from 60, because you can't live without sugar. You can't live without energy,
The
right?
brain needs sugar.
The brain needs sugar, the muscle needs sugar. You will tell you right away that, hey, I lack of energy, I'm feeling weak, I'm getting confused and headachy, right? Because
dizzy.
we need the energy. And so sugar drop below 60, you can't function. And low blood sugar doesn't mask itself, right?
No, it doesn't.
It tells you plainly that you need to eat something, right?
Yeah, it appears faster than high blood sugar, actually.
Yeah, and it's more deadly and more dangerous.
Yes.
But the high blood sugar is deadly and deceptive.
Deceptive,
Yeah, because it could be high for weeks and months and you don't know. And that's the danger of high blood sugar.
Mm-hmm.
It's deceptive. And I like the analogies like the termites in
the house.
in your house,
yeah,
you know.
yeah, just chipping away at the
You
wood.
can't see them, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you see a little dust on the floor, but you say, oh, some dust coming, but if you termites undermining
The
the wood in
integrity.
the house, right?
Yeah.
And then when you bump against the frame, it collapses because after years of the termites undermining the fabric of the house, you know, you can't stand the stress of daily usage, and that's how diabetes, high blood sugar, makes us ill.
So the primary reason we're here tonight is to talk about how it affects the kidneys now.
Yeah.
Now we know it affects all the organs and organ systems about the body, but we want to talk about the kidneys specifically now. How does this excess sugar in the body affect the kidneys?
Well, you know, sugar is a sticky molecule, right?
Very sticky.
Yeah. And so there's that phenomenon called what? When sugar binds onto proteins in the body.
Oh, well, I know.
Glycosylation.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so scientists have discovered that process, that when the sugar is stuck onto protein, because it is higher than normal in the blood, because they have an affinity, it's a chemical reaction. The sugar and the glucose and the glucose and the proteins, they bind together naturally, and that's called glycosylation. And so monitoring the glycosylation process in the body can give an indicator of the chronicity of the high blood sugar. And the A1C is now a standard test of control to know how well you've been managing your blood sugar.
So how long is the range on the A1C? How long does it, give a range on how high your sugar has been?
The normal range of A1C between 4 and 6%. For normal blood sugar between, say, over 100 milligrams, 110 milligrams. Once the sugar starts going above that range on average, the scientists have worked out that for every percentage rise in A1C is equivalent to 35 milligrams increase in your blood sugar. So if you have an A1C of 7%, it means that your average sugar is around 150, 145, 150.
About there, yeah?
Yeah. Instead of being around 100, 110, it's about 145, 150. And that's the danger. That's the value of the A1C.
It's a really, really good measure.
Yeah.
I mean, where fasting blood sugar only tells us what's going on in that, last 12 hours or so. The A1C would tell us what's going on in the last 3 months. Yeah, so.
I mean, that's a big topic in itself. So we got to save some for
A1C.
another time. Right?
I'll give you one interesting tidbit. When I was kind of doing my research into A1C, and especially regarding kidney illness, so it says those with chronic kidney issues, we can't trust the A1C for some reason.
Because of anemia.
Yes. So they say the fasting blood sugar is actually a better measure for us to look at when it comes to renal patients with renal disease and diabetes.
Well, that's a little nuance to the team, but in terms of the end organ damage, the A1C, well, before you become anemic, we'll tell you that, hey, all your proteins in the body are glycosylated, and proteins are the workhorses of the body. Our enzymes, our hormones, our cell membranes, our antibodies,
The structure.
structured protein elements, they're all proteinaceous, and once they become stuck on with glucose, they lose their functionality.
So that excess sugar in the blood and, being filtered by the kidney, it kind of widens the sieve, right?
Exactly.
Yes.
Because the kidney membrane is become damaged by the
Excess.
glycosylation process, and then capillaries become leaky, and then proteins leak into the urine, and you could detect that on a urine test.
Also another, not really new, but maybe new to some among us, the microalbumin.
Yeah. So when you see increased protein in the urine from the microalbumin level, then you know that your kidneys are under threat. And the Royal Society has been pioneering that test. We introduced that test to the Nevis market, St. Nevis market, the microalbuminuria.
Wow, that's pioneering. I mean, we still can't get that test so easily in the lab. So,
because from the research that we did, we realized that the society started offer that test for free as part of our annual campaign several years ago, just to get people aware. And from my recollection, a few patients who were picked up with microalbuminuria have gone on to become end-stage renal failure.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
because, you know, all people live in denial.
So years ago, you picked them up with the microalbumin.
Yeah,
And then you saw the progression of them going towards end-stage renal
exactly.
failure. Wow.
Because people are reluctant to accept the hard facts of life, that your kidneys are under threat, your protein in the urine is going up, and so we have to continue this topic, Tivon.
We do.
Time is running out, and
We
that's
do.
why
Maybe next third Thursday we
next
could
month,
get back
yeah.
into it. Yeah.
because it's a big topic, right?
Huge.
I mean, the A1C itself, I mean, the damage at the different end organ by the glycosylation process, you know, every organ, everywhere glucose goes, right?
Everywhere.
You know,
Literally everywhere. From the
it's stuck onto proteins. We can't measure all the proteins in the body,
no.
but one protein is neatly packaged in red blood cells, and that is hemoglobin. And the hemoglobin binding to glucose is called hemoglobin A1C, a glycosylated hemoglobin. And nature has been so kind to us that it gives us a little metric, because red blood cells have a 3-month lifespan.
Yes.
And that's the value, the reason for the 3-month testing of the A1C. If you control your sugar today, keep it from going over 160, the A1C will come down within a month to back to normal.
I've seen it.
I've seen it.
Yes.
I mean, I have a patient who had A1C in the double digits. They went away to the States. The company gave them a free trip to get medical care abroad, right?
Wow.
And they came back on insulin and metformin. A1C double digits. And they...
Still after the insulin?
No, they didn't want to go on the medication.
Oh.
I sat them down and tell them what to eat, how to eat, and exercise. And up to this day, just diet and exercise, managing their blood sugar. No
possible.
medication.
It's very
And within
possible.
a month, the A1C was back to normal.
It's the diligence.
Yeah. And okay, they were caterers in their business life. They know how to prepare meals and so on. And having explained to them what to eat and how to eat, they followed the advice.
That's good.
And after 2-3 years of diagnosis, they still have A1C under 6.5%.
See, that's a good
You know,
success
so
story.
it can be managed, but people have to be disciplined and diligent in managing their blood sugar and diabetes.
So like you said, this is a full topic for another session.
Yeah.
But before we go tonight, we want to get into some of the plans the Renal Society has for the future. I mean, we only got 2 minutes, so...
Yes. So the Renal Society is wanting to be more engaging with the public. So our next event will be a walkathon on the 21st of June.
Mark that date, the
21st of June. And we have a new route this year. We can begin and end at the Malcolm Gishard Recreation Park.
Where we going?
And we're going to walk along the Island Main Road up to Kuhun Junction, up to Barnsgott, come down to Jessops, and back to the Malcolm Gishard Park.
That's a serious walk.
Yes.
I'm ready.
And we'll have a lovely, healthy breakfast at the end of that walk.
All right, so that's...
So folks, keep that date in mind, 24th of June, and keep in touch with the society members for your walkathon package.
All right, I just want to thank Dr. Leibert for joining us tonight, giving us the updates on the Renal Society and the future upcoming events that we have. I'd just like to thank everybody for listening tonight, and we'll be back on the next third Thursday of June.
Yeah, God willing.
Thank you, everyone.
Just before the walkathon, yeah.
Just before?
Yeah.
Just for the reminder. We'll hit them with the reminder.
24th of June.
All right.
Keep that date. Mark that date in your calendar, folks. 24th of June.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Yeah.
You were just listening to Health Talk, sponsored by